A lot of people say, like, I just want to be happy. And life isn't really about being happy all the time, but I wanted to feel like just joy in life, right? Even if we were busy or even if it was a little stressful, just to love the life that I had. And to be honest, again, nothing in our life has changed. All that craziness is still here. And if anything, over the last few years, I would say that it's gotten busier. The difference between then and now is I love it. Welcome to Becoming Tantalum with me, Megan Bennell. Discover your brightest self in a journey of transformation and resilience. Let's embark on this path together, starting now. Welcome back to Becoming Tantalum, and I'm your host, Megan Bennell. And today's episode is all about discovering the incredible power that lies within each of us. So I'm going to go off our normal kind of topics today because this season has been incredibly busy for me, and I'm guessing that I'm not alone. And so I wanted to share with you what made this crazy season so different from so many crazy seasons that I've had before. And it was so special to me this time around and really made me recognize and appreciate something. And it blew my mind. And so we're going to get to the why at the end, and it's kind of laced throughout it a little bit. So hang in there for that. But I'm going to tell you the what of kind of what's been happening this season. And more importantly, what I've done in preparation, I guess you could say, for this season that was so different from before. So, this is for you, my friends. If you're feeling stuck or overwhelmed, or you simply need a little bit of a push, this episode is to remind you that you have everything that you need to create the life that you desire within you. And you don't have to change a thing to start except for you. So, we're going to dive in. So, we live in this world that is easy to feel small in. And we constantly have comparisons to other people and families and societal pressures and this never ending to do list and this feed, right, of like social media and this instant gratification need. And I feel like sometimes we're all just trying to survive, right? Like you're just trying to get through the day rather than truly live and appreciate these moments that life is giving you. But here's the thing, the power to change all of that isn't somewhere out there, it's within you. And I want you to imagine before we dive into this, what it would feel like if you tapped into your full potential. So picture waking up every single day with purpose and excitement and feeling this deep sense of fulfillment, like you're living life on your own terms and chasing your dreams and making an impact and just loving and soaking in the moments that you have. It sounds great, right? That's what I want for you. But we're going to make it much more tangible because here's the thing, that life, whatever it is that you're imagining, and I'm not talking about taking super wild adventures all the time or traveling all the time. I'm talking about the life that you live now and loving that moment to moment and feeling in control of your schedule and your happiness and just all of that. It's not a fantasy, it's within your reach. And today we're going to talk about how to get there because that, in kind of vague terms again, is exactly where I find myself. So let's tease this out a little bit because there were really three big things that I changed about me within my power, they're within your power, that changed everything. So before I do that, I want to be real with you as far as where I was so that maybe you can relate at least a little bit to that. So over the past few years, I've gone through this major transformation. And to be honest, for those individuals that are watching my life and that like from the outside in, they might not see it. As you know, we have 4 kids and it's a circus around here. So we have incredibly busy schedules. Both my husband and I own our own businesses. 3 out of 4 of our kids are in school. Between the three kids that are in outside activities, we have four different sports teams that we're on. My husband is coaching three of those sports teams. Everybody needs their social time. We all have to eat, obviously, like all the meals throughout the day. Our house has to be cleaned and our homework done and our laundry done, like all of that. It's a never ending schedule of all of these things. So, back up to a few years ago, I was so overwhelmed. I was lost in the shuffle of all of it. I feel like I didn't understand what we were doing, where we were going, like what the point of all of it was. I felt like I could never keep up with anything, right? Like laundry was never done. And I was always constantly scrambling for dinner and getting kids to here and leaving a little bit late to go get them and drop them off and all the things. I was incredibly stressed all the time. And I was constantly complaining about the schedules, the times, the money, relationships, like all the things, right? And I was constantly buffering. So that means like, avoiding how I was feeling or covering up the things that I didn't like. And I was doing that with snacks and social outlets and drinking and avoiding everything that I could possibly avoid and more. And that was gross. I mean, it was really a very uncomfortable place to be in. It was awful. And don't get me wrong, I love my kids. I love my husband. I loved what we were involved in, but it was so much. And I just felt like it was too much. And yet I didn't want to change any of it, but I wanted it to all change, like all at the same time. I just wanted to feel better, like to love my life and not feel like I was in this rat race, right? I don't know if you can relate to that, but it was so much. And there wasn't one thing that I wanted to change, but I wanted to feel different about all of it. Like I just wanted things to be smooth and in control and happy and not stressed and not overwhelmed, all of that. I felt stuck. And I felt like I was constantly drowning in this pool. And then I felt guilty for not just feeling blessed to be in this pool, right? So now I'm drowning and I'm avoiding and I'm complaining and I'm feeling guilty and I'm covered in all of this shame for all of those feelings and resented myself for it and other people for it. And I felt like a failure. Failure was a big one because I never felt like I could keep up on all the things. It was just a lot and a lot of really icky feelings, right? I wouldn't say, I mean, a lot of people say like I just want to be happy. And life isn't really about being happy all the time, but I wanted to feel like just joy in life, right? Even if we were busy or even if it was a little stressful, just to love the life that I had. And to be honest again, nothing in our life has changed. All that craziness is still here. And if anything, over the last few years, I would say that it's gotten busier. And yet, the difference between then and now is I love it. I'm enjoying it. I don't feel rushed or stressed. I'm truly living in this like bliss of the circus that we have going on because that circus didn't change. So you might be asking, like, if nothing changed, then how could it possibly have been this massive transformation, right? All of that was within me. I changed purposefully, and it changed how I feel in the life that we have. And that changed how I behave in the results we have in the life that we have. It changed my day to day appreciation and joy and fulfillment and happiness and satisfaction. But nothing really changed purposefully in our life besides me. So, a little bit of rawness here. It took work, right? So here's the crazy thing. I feel like everybody expects and is willing to put in work on like projects in your career, or you're willing to put in work to finish school, or you're willing to put in work for your team that you're on. You're willing to put in work to lose weight. You know that there's work to get stronger. You're willing to put in work to accomplish those things that you can easily see, that you can point to, that you can show. And yet, so many of us never consider the fact that it takes work to better ourselves internally, and that is really what changes everything externally. So, to get to the point that we can manage our mind and in doing so, change our lives, that takes work. But I did it, right? So, a lot of research, a lot of failed attempts, a lot of all the things, but I've watched myself do it, obviously, and now I've seen countless clients do it and, friends that have been interested and asked and gotten involved do it. And I would venture to say that all of that work that all of us put in on ourselves, that you would put in on yourself, not on your weight, not on the gym, not on your diet, not on your career, not on your relationships, but just on you, that we put in just on us is the most important work that we have. And that work has the largest compound effect, the large rippling effect, the biggest one on everything else in our lives. So I'm going to walk you through some of this, but I put in the work. I feel so much better. I feel great. And so maybe that seems really selfish because that really is just like a me thing, but not really. My marriage is better for it. My kids are happier for it. Our schedule or organization, the involvement in our things is better for it. I'm more present, which affects everybody. I'm more efficient. That affects everything. I'm more purposeful. That affects everything. And I'm now accomplishing more than I ever did and more present than I ever was and loving it more than I ever thought that I could. And yet the work that I put in wasn't on my weight, on my time, on my schedule, on my job, on my kids. It was on me, like really just on me. And that can be you. You have everything that you need to make massive changes in your life inside of you. It's already there. But the work that you need to put in to make this happen starts inside and ripples outside. Like you're going to see the effects on everything, but it all starts. It's purposeful, it's consistent, it's in you. And my friends, it's worth it. So, where does this all start? It all starts in your mind. And I know now you think that we're going to get all woo woo and fluffy, but truly, truly, it all starts just inside your mind. Your mind is the most powerful tool that you have in your life. And the first step in transforming your life is to recognize the power of your thoughts. Like your thoughts truly make or break your experiences, make or break your journey towards your goals, make or break this surviving versus living situation that that we're all in, right? Like we're all surviving, hoping to live. Like your thoughts are the start of all of it. Our thoughts shape our reality, and what we believe about ourselves, that's huge, and the world around us dictate the actions that we take. And then ultimately, because of that, the results that you see in your life. So if you believe that you're capable of greatness, you'll pursue opportunities that align with that belief. But on the flip side, if you tell yourself that you're not good enough, then you'll shy away from the very things that could bring you the joy and success that you want. If you think of things as stress, as overwhelming, as this is terrible, versus you think of your thoughts are focused on your ability, your capabilities, your organization, what's in your control. If you think of that versus of the stress and the overwhelming and whatever, then instantly that situation that didn't change at all completely changes in the way that you think and feel and act. And so let me ask you this before we dive into kind of what that all looked like for me. What is the story that you're telling yourself right now? And I know we talked about this before, but right now, just about your life in general, right now, present. Take a moment wherever you are and think about the narrative running through your mind about your current life. Are you lifting yourself up? Are you excited about things? Are you feeling confident about things? Or are you holding yourself back with negative thoughts, sticky thoughts, hateful thoughts? If it's the latter, then it's time to rewrite that story. And before we talked about rewriting the story as far as in your past, but now I'm saying in the present, what you're focusing on, what you're thinking on, what you are giving your attention, your love, your heart, all your time, all of that to. What are you dedicating all of that to? Is it the stress, the overwhelm, the terrible, or are you focusing on the positive, the capability, the potential outcomes? You are more than the doubts and the fears and the negative that you have in your head. You are capable and you're strong and you're worthy of all the good things that life has to offer. It just has to do with that shift that you need to make. Through my journey, I learned a lot about thought work and about how to be intentional with those thoughts that I allowed to take residence in my mind. And I created this simple model called STEAR. And I have an episode that I dropped months ago on that. So if you aren't familiar and you're interested, then go back to that episode. And it's STEAR, like STEAR. But the idea of STEAR is accepting that situations are neutral. That's the S, situations. There's nothing that you can do to control situations, right? But your thoughts on it are completely under your control. And so managing your thoughts changes your emotions because your emotions follow the thoughts that you have. And so they can be chosen by carefully choosing your thoughts. And how you think and feel is going to dictate how you act. And so your actions are then directly tied to your results. So what you think about situations has to do with how you feel about situations, has to do with how you act on them or in them, and then what your results are. And so, if you want to change your results, which I did, you need to change your pattern of thinking. And I used that literally on repeat, notebook after notebook of steer model after steer model, focused on changing my results and backing that up to changing the way that I was approaching situations and doing nothing else but changing my thoughts, changed result after result after result. And I did this, I kid you not, like on repeat, dedicated, consistent, repeat, so that I changed the way my mind was working. And it changed so much, instantly changed how I felt. Like that was instantly in my control. And I love that. But it changed results, like things you can point to, things you can touch in my life by doing the work on managing my mind. It allowed me to intentionally control my thoughts and my emotions. And then that directly changed my results. And whether it was how I felt or how I showed up or decisions I made or how an event or responsibility went, like all of that was in my power because I did the work, the hard work to dive deep, uproot some of the beliefs I didn't need to have, slash through thoughts that weren't helping me, and intentionally control the thoughts that I was allowing to have residence in my mind. So, steer, that's where my work started. Lots and lots and lots of steering. So, if you missed that episode and you're interested in that, because that's where I started, go to the steer episode and I kind of walk you through exactly what that looks like. So, that was the first thing that I did. And then I really focused on the actions that I was taking. Because here's the thing, you can think about all the things and feel good about all the things, but if you're not taking action on them, then your results aren't going to follow, right? So when you just use steer, that's going to change the way that you respond to situations, the way you show up in situations, but it's not going to make you take purposeful action to move forward on something. And so once I got steer down, I really went to work on the actions that I was taking because you can have the most positive mindset in the world, but if you don't take steps towards your goal, you're never going to achieve it, right? So action is that bridge that you need between where you are and where you want to be. And here is a little secret. You don't have to take massive life altering steps right away. Like, that's not at all what I'm suggesting. Start small, consistent, small actions compound over time and lead to really big results. It's about your progress, not your perfection. And the more progress you get, the more confidence you get, the more action you take, the bigger your results are going to be. So, before I dive into kind of what I did, one of the biggest obstacles that I see in clients and myself is fear, right? We don't take action because we're afraid of failure, we're afraid of the unknown, we're afraid of what others might think. But I want you to work on reframing your fear. Instead of seeing it as a reason not to, as a stop sign, see it as a sign that you're on the right track because fear means that you're stepping out of your comfort zone. And that, my friends, is where real growth happens. If you want change, shocker, you're going to need to change some things. We need to see that fear as a sign that we're trying to step out of our usual and do something different. And that, to me, friends, is a huge green light. So the next time that you might feel fear creeping in, acknowledge it, right? But don't let that control you. Instead, take that step anyway, whatever that was that you were going to do. And you'll be amazed at what you can accomplish when you push through that instead of stopping at that sign of fear. Fear aside, taking action is huge. So I took a step back and I looked at what I wanted and needed in life. And based on that, I made some really simple goals. Remember, I said like small things. but some of them were specifically for me, but some of them were for our schedule. Some of them was for our family. But I broke down those goals into actionable items that were in my control. So I was consistent about making these small little steps a priority, and the effects were huge. So I blew all my goals out of the water, which was amazing, and went far above and beyond them. But part of that was learning how to set myself up for success in achieving those goals. So I created this process that allowed me to like almost be fail proof in my tenacious attack of a goal. And that has allowed me to continue to reach my goals again and again and again. To talk specifically about some of my goals, I mean, there were like many, but all of them were tiny, tiny. Some of these are a little bit bigger. One of my goals was that I wanted to lose 50 pounds. Done. Been there, far beyond that. But what came of that was much more than me losing weight. I set up this goal, set it up with this process that I had created so that it was like almost fail proof. But in that process, not at the end, in that process, I gained confidence. Didn't expect that. That was before I lost weight. I had more energy. I found a love for myself in the process, again, before I lost the weight that I never thought was possible. And so just taking action, tiny little steps towards that goal and doing that consistently on repeat, being dedicated to that, it gave me so much more than the goal that I was actually set out to achieve. All I did was take action, little tiny steps. Another goal was that I really wanted to live in the moment. So I was constantly, as I mentioned before, like stressed and overwhelmed, and I was worried about what wasn't getting done or what was coming up or what did I forget or all scrambling to make stuff happen, right? I didn't want to do that anymore. I wanted to find a way to truly live in each moment that was in front of me, no matter what it was that I was doing. So maybe I was working, maybe I was working out, maybe I was hanging out with my kids, maybe I was cooking dinner. Like it didn't matter. Maybe I was at a sports, practice or game. It didn't matter. I wanted to be there, wherever there was. And for that, I knew that I needed to find a way to manage my time efficiently, but also honor my goals and my priorities, right? And so I did a ton of research, tried a ton of different things, and I created this thing called the Power Hour. And I found a way to ensure everything got done. Everything was planned out, and there was time for everything. And that let me let go of not of worrying about what didn't get done, what was about to get done, all the things. What was I forgetting? It allowed me to live moment to moment, which to me was huge because I hadn't been able to do that before. I hadn't been able to truly live in that moment before. And so the Power Hour gave that to me, and it took research to figure that out, but I was able to do that, to live in that moment. That to me was a freedom that I hadn't ever experienced before, and I appreciated that a ton. So I had time for everything, and the connection with my kids increased because I was just present. The connection with my husband increased because I was just present. It allowed me to focus at work and be more efficient at work. It allowed me to stay off my phone while I wasn't working, right? Like, isn't that beautiful? I had fun at games and practices and running errands. And I just could be exactly where I was in each and every moment and soak that in, which was huge. And a bonus to this was that I actually was able to get more done. I had more flexibility in my time than I did before. At least it felt like I had much more freedom and flexibility in my time than I had before. And so this is an hour every single week that I do this same process every single week. And I am like tirelessly dedicated to that because I have seen the results in it. But it was small little steps that I took to get to that point, and it changed everything for me. And then I think the biggest change that I wanted to make is I didn't like how I talked about myself, like whether it was joking with other people, or whether it was the lack of confidence that I had in myself. And we talked about that in thoughts too, but I really made a goal to make sure that I was my own best friend, that I had my own back, that I could count on myself, and that I honored the things that I said I was going to do for myself and with my time. And again, small little steps, but I put in the work to really get to that place that I could be my own number one fan, that I didn't need other people's approvals or positive comments to feel like I was doing amazing, that I could lay my head down on my pillow at the end of the night and feel really good about who I was and what I was doing, and that it didn't have to come with, a good job or gold star or attaboy or nothing. I mean, I didn't have to get any compliments throughout any day for me to feel amazing. And little steps, tiny little things that I was dedicated to completely have a mind shift on the way that I thought and talked about myself. So those were some of my goals, but each of them I literally broke down so that every single day I knew what action I was taking towards achieving that goal. And none of them took much. They were little tiny steps, but I was dedicated, I was consistent, and the effects of that were huge in the rest of my life, even though all of those had really everything to do with me and nothing to do with anybody else. So I would say that those two things were what I started with. So I started with STEAR, and then I went into creating these goals and being dedicated to small little changes. And there were lots more goals over the past few years, but those were like some key ones. And then finally, I think the last change that I made that had such a big difference is I reminded myself I don't have to do this alone. But what am I surrounded by? And is that supporting me? So sometimes I feel like I was doing all of this work and I wasn't alone, but I felt like I was doing it alone because of the soil that I was in. So I encourage you to look at what's surrounding you. So surrounding, who is there to uplift you or inspire you? Is it friends? Is it a family? Is it coach? Is it a community of like-minded individuals? Is it the feeds that you scroll through, the music that you listen to? Having support is really important. And I feel like I was on this journey, and it's not that I was getting anti-support, but I wasn't getting the support that was serving me. And the deal is, you don't have to be alone in this journey to better yourself, to work on yourself. But if you don't change the soil you're in, you're going to be. So I've talked so many times about soil, like, the things that surround you, what you're soaking in, what you're hearing, what you're reading, like all of that. And I completely changed my soil. Clearly, I didn't get rid of my family, obviously. But I changed everything else. I changed what I listened to. I changed what I read. I meticulously worked on changing my social feed so that everything was inspirational, motivational, funny. I love myself some funny, uplifting things. I changed what I talked about. I changed how I responded to people in conversations. I changed who I dedicated my time to and how my time was spent. My soil before, I would say, allowed me to be drowning but with sympathy and empathy around me. It allowed me to ignore the real issues, the things that I needed to change, and just cover it up with love and instant gratification. But the thing is that that sympathy and that empathy and that love and that allowance and that grace, that all supported me in ignoring what needed to happen, not accepting what was in my life and where I wanted to be. So, all that love, all that support, all that empathy, it didn't change anything. And it was never going to change anything. I was going to be stuck in that circle forever. And what I wanted was to be free. I wanted to feel joy. I wanted to live in life's moments. I wanted to make changes. And I wanted to just really love life, good and bad. The people, the books, the music, the posts that we see, the reels that we see, the conversations, those that I had before were never going to lift me out of that. They loved me, but they loved me where I was. And they were going to keep me where I was, not intentionally, not on purpose, because that's how I designed my soil. I designed support for where I was living. But that support was going to keep me right where I was. And so I changed it, like dramatically. I purposefully and intentionally looked at what I was surrounding myself with, what I was allowing into my life, what I was allowing to see and hear and be motivated by. And now I am constantly being challenged in amazing ways, being motivated, being called out, but in an inspirational way. I'm not around complaining, and I don't complain, right? It wasn't serving me. And so I replaced that with challenges and with things that I'm doing to better, to change, to be inspired, to be motivated, to be happy, to love where it is that I'm living in the moment to moment. And it allowed me to be supported in creating this life that I absolutely love. But I had to change that. Your soil isn't going to change itself. Your social feeds aren't going to change themselves. Your music isn't going to change itself. The conversations you have aren't going to change themselves. It needs to be purposeful and intentional. So, in this life where nothing changed but me, my decisions, my actions, my choices, I changed that. And because of that, I feel so free. I enjoy my moments. I feel like I want to be exactly where I am. I'm present. I don't feel stuck. I don't feel stressed. I don't feel overwhelmed. I truly love this circus that's surrounding me and the support in my new journey in creating the best life that I can possibly imagine. And so, did anything change? Yeah, I did, right? Like, I purposefully changed from the inside out, and that changed everything. And so I want that for you. I want you to love the life that you're living. And if you don't love things in it, I want you to have that motivation and inspiration to change those things, to empower you to make those, to take those actions, to get the results that you want to make those changes. So my friend, I want to ask you, where are you? Like what are you doing and how is your life? How do you feel? Are you happy? Are you experiencing the goods and the bads in life with love and with acceptance? Are you living in your moments? Or are you feeling stuck? Are you circling around and around in this dark space, tirelessly wishing for a change, even if you're supported by people, but you just can't put a finger on that change? That finger needs to be pointed at you. I finally pointed it at myself a few years ago, and it changed everything. So, why now? Why am I bringing this up now? Well, the past few weeks, as I mentioned, have been insane. Like, I couldn't even make a list of all of the things that didn't go right, that were completely out of control. It has been a circus upon a circus upon a circus. But normally for me, that would have come with a really heavy, dark cloud. Like, I would have eaten more, hidden more, covered up more, drank more, like tired at night, complaining all the time, waiting for the light at the end of the tunnel, just wishing for something better and different, waiting for the crossing my fingers, like holding my breath, waiting for the season to be over. But not this time. This time, I can honestly say I am loving it. There are hard moments for sure, but I accept those. I know I can feel those. I know I can get through those, and I love them for what they are. I never in a single moment in this crazy, crazy season have felt stuck or trapped or lost or dark. I had inspiration and motivation to seriously like tackle all of this, like head on this crazy busy season. And I've been tackling it with love for myself and grace for myself and really enjoying it. It felt amazing. It feels amazing. The thing is that life isn't always going to be easy. And in fact, it's like 50-50. I've talked about that before. So there's easy times and there's really crappy times. But it's that willingness to feel anything, to not be afraid of anything, or if you are afraid, having that confidence that you can face that head on. It's being willing to weather anything and to dance in the rain, right? It's that freedom that's so indescribable until you're in it. And that's what I want for you. I want you to be able to truly live and love your life regardless of the season, to appreciate this roller coaster of life that we're on, because there's goods and there's bads, there's ups and there's downs, but to really appreciate all of those and be able to live in all of those moments. And that all starts with you, with managing your mind, with taking action. Those are the first two steps, absolutely. And intentionally changing the soil that's going to feed you to becoming that better version of yourself. It is so worth it. And I'm now living it like full extent. Do I want to continue on this journey of becoming, a better version of myself? Absolutely. I'll never stop. But I'm at that point that I feel so much freedom and love for the crazy circus of a life that I had that years ago was just drowning me. And my friends, that's what I want for you, whatever your circus is, whatever water it is that you're drowning in. I want to lift you out of that. But to be honest, that first change comes with you being willing to put in the work on you to make that change. And then everything else will follow. So as we wrap up today's session, I want to leave you with this. You have the power to transform your life. It's already there. It's inside of you. It starts with a single thought, a single commitment, a single action, a single moment of courage from you to say, yes, I can. And yes, I will. To believe in yourself and take those tiny steps. It's nothing massive. And yet you get to watch as your life begins to shift in ways that you never thought were possible. The results are massive, even though your commitment are small little steps. The massive change that comes of it, you're worth that. And you can do that. So I hope this was helpful today. I hope that gave you a little bit of inspiration, a little bit of motivation to just say, I can and I will. And where can I start? So thank you for joining me today on Becoming Tantalum. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with somebody that you think could hear it as well. And as always, remember, the best is yet to come because you are the one that's going to create that best. If at any point you at all want to reach out, you have questions, please don't hesitate. I'm happy to point you in the right direction or to give you any guidance that you might need. I hope that you have a great week. And until next time, stay inspired, stay motivated, and keep choosing to live your best life. Thank you for joining me today. If you want to take all of these concepts and tools to a deeper level, apply them to your life, and watch the transformation happen, I would love for you to join the Tantalum Tribe. That's a monthly membership where all of our community has access to live coaching, self-paced courses, guest coaches, podcast study guides, anonymous question boards, and more. You too can transform your life using the tools and strategies that we have with accountability built in from our community. I really hope that you join us at tantalumcoaching.com. That's TANTALUM coaching.com. Just click join the tribe. I can't wait to see you in there.
An ironic media production. Visit us at ironickmedia.com.